Hello, Jedi Padawans and Sith Acolytes. Welcome to Apocaflix Movies and the Padawan Podcast. Before we get going, just tell you a little bit about the show. If you love Star Wars and everything in the galaxy far, far away, then this is the exact show you should be watching. Why? Because we're diving deep into the franchise with full dark and light side intentions. If that's something you love doing as well, then we'd love for you to join in on the discussions by hitting that subscribe button and commenting down below. You can also find the show on all podcast platforms, including Anchor, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify if on-the-go listening works better for you. We hope you enjoy the show, and may the Force be with you. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Apocaflix Movies and the Padawan Podcast, our all-Star Wars podcast, where we're breaking down everything from the galaxy far, far away. I'm your host, Jake Bullen, aka Qui-Gon Jake, as I go here on the show. And I'm the host of the show, and we're going to be diving into The Mandalorian today. The season has wrapped up, and we're going to be doing a full spoiler review breakdown of what we saw, what we liked, what we didn't like, Easter eggs, favorites, all that type of stuff is going to be here on the Padawan. It's the only thing we're talking about. If you're here for The Rise of Skywalker, this is not what you're going to be watching. Go to our spoiler discussions for that. But before we get to that, I'm going to announce the crew that we have with me today. We have Jacob Bartley, Obi-Wan Jacoby, and Grand Admiral Sino himself.
Hello there.
How's it going, guys?
Not too bad.
Pretty good. Even though I still have Rise of Skywalker on my mind, like a lot. Ready to talk to Mando though.
I feel you. So we're gonna get right into it because give ourselves as much time as possible to talk about this thing. There's a lot to talk about, obviously, and I wrote some notes up, and we're gonna go section by section here, but we're going to start with our opening thoughts of the show. Expectations of what you had beforehand. Did it hit those? What do you want to see more of going forward? What do you want to see less of? That type of stuff. Brian, why don't you start us off, man?
My expectations for it was, I was just like, just be good. All I wanted. Like, make a solid Star Wars TV show. That's it. That's all I wanted. Like, just be good. And
nailed it.
I don't think we have to worry about that anymore.
Jacob?
Yeah, my expectations were pretty high because it was Favreau working on this. And the list of directors that he had connected. Filoni too, just the perfect combination of creative mind and somebody who knows the lore of Star Wars. Do this. And I wasn't expecting like something amazingly great, but I was expecting something pretty damn solid, and it definitely at least met those expectations. This is a solid show. Very happy with it overall. Like overall, very happy with it. Did a lot of cool things. It's weird to say, but it's both smaller scale than I thought and larger scale than I thought.
It has a little bit of both for sure.
Yeah. So it goes back and forth, which I like, and we'll get into all the details, but yeah, it definitely met, if not exceeded, my expectations.
Yeah, I'm more with Jacob as far as like expectations. But I think all of us had high expectations, obviously. But being the first live action show, like you mentioned, Favreau's involved. It's taking place around a character named the Mandalorian, which is something that we've all wanted to see for so long. The expectations were definitely very, very high, and I think it met those expectations in more ways than just one, which is obviously a good thing. And there's also some very surprising things with it too. These are a lot of new things that we had no idea the show would focus on. Obviously, the biggest one is Baby Yoda.
Yeah.
We had no idea that it would focus on this type of stuff, but it's working out in its favor and for the long run as well. So, very happy with the show. I mean, I like I told you guys before we started shooting, I watched the first 2 episodes again today, and they're just as brilliant as they were the first time we watched them. So, but let's go ahead and move on to the first part of the breakdown. And that is episode rankings, and we're gonna get right into the heat of it, and we're just gonna rank the episodes from least favorite to favorite, and our favorite will maneuver our way into our next section, which is our favorite episode, talking about that. And so why don't we just go 8 through 1, shoot them off, and Jacob, why don't you start us off, man? What is your ranking for the Mandalorian?
Low, high.
Go least favorite to favorite. Yes, sir.
So I have number 5 last.
Chapter 5.
Chapter 5. So I'm just gonna list them. So
Yeah.
Chapter 5, Chapter 4, Chapter 1,
Ooh.
Chapter 6, Chapter 7, Chapter 3, Chapter 2, Chapter 8.
Very different than mine.
Very
Tell you that
different
much.
than mine too.
Brian, why don't you go ahead and suit yourself next, man?
From least, I went 4, 6, 1, 2, 5, 7, 3.
Wow, different again. For me, I did chapter 5, chapter 6, chapter 4, chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 7, chapter 8, and chapter 3.
Wow.
So I had a different number 1.
I actually knew you were going to
Wow.
pick 3
Crazy.
Why did you think I was going to pick
Because
number 1?
You lost your ever-loving mind when the Mandalorian
The Mandalorian is like the one thing I've wanted to see in Star Wars
Yeah.
for so long. We see them freaking fly out with
All
jetpacks and stuff
together,
like
yeah.
that. So let me ask this then: what is the reasoning behind your least favorite being your least favorite? Before we get into our favorites,
For me, it was the most filler
And which one is yours
4.
again? Okay.
Sanctuary, really,
Bryce Dallas Howard.
really? Huh?
What did it do to progress the story?
I mean, we learn a lot about Mando.
Yeah, we meet Cara Dune and we
Okay.
learn about the mask and the rules about taking the mask off, and we learn more about his personality. Like,
Well,
he
we knew
wants to
he-
settle down, but he can't.
But we knew he couldn't take them out. He said something before. I don't take them. Something. So that I already knew. Cara Dune, yeah, we got her introduced. She was just kind of a brute for episode. And her name was Cara Dune.
We learned that they could still track Baby Yoda, and that they were still coming after him.
Yeah, I mean, but nothing like.
See, that's how I feel about
Sure.
Chapter 5. As much as I love the idea of going back to Tatooine and seeing the cantina, you know, how it separated itself from the whole droid thing, and just seeing that world again, like the Dune Sea and just everything that episode featured, it was 100% the most filler episode of the
Yeah, I
season,
agree.
in my opinion.
That's my, and I don't even hate that episode.
No, neither do I.
The thing
Neither
is,
do I.
like, usually when you're ranking a TV season, there's a few episodes you hate. There's only 8 of these, but I don't even dislike them.
For the most part, I like all of them.
Oh yeah,
I like all of them, but I guess the way I looked at it is, out of all of them, to me, Chapter 5 is the one that didn't progress the story as much as the rest of them.
Yeah.
And Chapter 6 can kind of be said with the same thing, because it was separate, more about his past and stuff, but
6 death.
there were definitely things in that. I mean, learning about his past is a big deal.
Yeah.
Chapter 5 was, you know, the only thing that we learned of is this cloaked figure at the very end of the episode, and we don't even know who that is at this point. So it didn't really matter for that episode, you know, at the very end. I liked seeing it, but it was just like an episode to be like, oh, here's some nostalgia thrown in your face.
I like that one because to me it was extremely well.
Oh yeah, no, definitely. And the
that's-
music was
that's
incredible.
why I
in that
liked
episode.
it, and I did not expect to see Tatooine
Mhm.
and
The music was so good in that
the
episode.
feels of that. So that's why I that 5.
Yeah, it's episode 5 is
No,
my
4.
worst because it's like, if you take out, well, actually, and you can't really say this about many movies or many TV shows, you could seriously skip that episode. I mean,
Yeah.
honestly, you really could. There's some really cool things that happen. The opening of it is awesome. When the very opening of that episode.
The opening is the dogfight, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
I love that scene.
Okay.
And then there's some really cool things in it. We learn about the Tusken Raiders and that they
Mhm.
use sign language.
Mhm.
Those type of things are cool for the Star Wars galaxy, but as for this specific story, it didn't do much. For me, like in Sanctuary, which is my second, I felt like we did learn stuff, necessary stuff. We learned about the Mandalorian himself. We learned, I think those moments with him and the Widow were like, he wanted to stay with her.
There's a connection
But
for sure.
he couldn't, and he knew his lifestyle, and especially when Bounty Hunter shows up. Definitely, I can't stay different.
And we also learned in that episode specifically about the stuff with the New Rebellion and the Empire, with Cara Dune,
Yeah.
her history.
So it kind of
and
gave us
everything like that.
context on the galaxy as
Mhm.
well. So, but still, those two are probably my least favorite.
Where did you guys have Chapter 6? Because that was my second to least favorite.
That was my second.
That was?
Fifth.
So very, very close in
Yeah.
proximity. I mean, look, that episode,
I didn't mind that one though.
the action's incredible in that episode.
I loved Bill Burr and I loved
I-
the Twi'lek.
I
I
like
think
that episode.
I think the one scene that we keep talking about is the Dark Knight thing where the flashing lights.
Oh,
and he
yeah,
pops
when he
up.
turns the lights off.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he felt like Batman in that
So
moment.
sick. And
Yeah.
just a side note real quick, everybody on social media is bashing the character of Bill Burr because of his accent. I'm thinking to myself, there could easily be a planet with Boston accents.
And where did all these British accents come from?
Exactly.
It's no different.
Exactly. Like it's kind of ridiculous.
We've heard a Southern accent.
He was the best part of the episode.
And
he was awesome.
Did anyone say anything about Werner Herzog's accent?
Exactly.
No.
Exactly.
So that's ridiculous.
How did you guys ultimately feel about the Twi'lek? Because that's the one problem everyone seems to have with the episode.
I didn't like her until I found out who was playing her.
I had a similar
from Harry Potter.
reaction.
And then I was kind of like, she's known to play crazy really good, and it kind of like, or I shouldn't say crazy, just like not like all there, just kind of wild, and that actually made me like it, like her character.
I had that same reaction, but also all she has to do is stop growling and hissing.
It's the hissing.
Not that bad.
It's the hissing that bothered me. Yeah.
I actually liked her character. I liked her attitude, the way she carried herself, and she kind of put the Mandalorian, at unease.
Yeah.
Like you could tell he's like, damn, like he has a relationship with her, a past relationship with her, and she's vicious.
She's
even
a badass.
That was brutal what she did when she killed the guard.
Mm-hmm.
That was like everyone was standing around talking about it. She just did it really quick, and so I like that. But
You mean Matt Lantern?
what's with all the hissing and the growling? Like, I hope like if they were telling her to do that, it's not her fault. Or if she was doing it on her own, it's their fault for not telling her to stop.
That was Rick Famuyiwa's second episode.
And the thing is, if Twi'leks have always done that, they were always hissing and growling all the time, I would have been like, okay, that's just what Twi'leks are. But we've never seen any of
I think we talked about it on a review when I think I said
Hera never does that, but they're green ones, so maybe
we talked about maybe there's different clans or different kinds of Twi'leks.
That's what I'm assuming, because they seemed a little bit more wild. Her and her brother.
100%.
While Hera
wild Twi'leks.
Yeah, exactly.
I think it's a. I've always thought of them as like a planet like Earth, but each area is a different like.
Just raised differently.
That's what I imagine. Like if they were green and doing that, they would be like, "Wait a minute."
And I think you mentioned it. Maybe the different colors of Twi'leks means something, and we don't know that.
Exactly.
Maybe that's something that hasn't been explored yet because we've seen green, blue, purple,
different species.
We have seen orange. Her father. That's right. Yeah.
I just think I don't even think it's color. I just think it's from it.
Probably. Probably.
Probably class.
Hera's royalty, correct?
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure she's royalty.
Well, her dad was a part of the war,
some kind of hero. Yeah, he was part of the Clone Wars. Yeah.
I'm pretty sure she is. Her
They had that episode where they went back to her home and she had that doll or that artifact or something in Rebels. Yeah. Okay, so let's move on to our favorite episode. I'm gonna let you guys hash this out a little bit because you guys had the two same ones, and we'll talk about Chapter 8, obviously. But before we get to that, Jacob, you weren't on the Mandalorian last week, and so just quickly, your thoughts on Redemption Chapter 8, the final episode of the season. What'd you think, man?
Dude, this I was.
Well, your message in the chat is clear. Your message in the chat is clear.
This is like hands down. I can't even think of anything other than maybe a few episodes of The Boys and some Game of Thrones episodes. But this is my favorite episode of television, hands down, in years. And part of that has to do with I'm a Star Wars fan. If you show a non-Star Wars fan this, they'll think it's cool, but they're not going to be as invested.
I've had non-Star Wars fans come up to me who are watching this show like, dude, what does that mean? The black saber?
Yeah.
They're freaking out about that.
There's so many things in this episode that are like, what? Just reveals, and then just the action in this episode is amazing. The funny thing is, it's Taika, right? Taika Waititi directing this. It just, not that it felt like Thor Ragnarok, but it had that similar.
Oh, it was perfect.
That similar.
100%.
Once IG-11 rolls into town on his speeder bike, it had that Thor Ragnarok feel. I was just like, he just goes balls to the wall and just lets everything go.
Started.
Well, the opening scene with the stormtroopers.
Well, that too.
And do you know who they are?
I know one of them is Jason Sudeikis.
And then Adam Pally, who played the reporter on Iron Man 3.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and he does some other comedy stuff too. But yeah, Jason Sudeikis is the bad one, the most hated guy in the galaxy.
Jason Sudeikis is the
one that smacks he's now confirmed as the most hated guy in the galaxy.
More than Bill Burr's character, who was
100%.
pretending to drop him.
He literally physically smacked Yoda
Although
twice.
I will say, the other guy
hit him harder.
Hit him
harder.
Yeah. So, but
yeah. Oh, but that episode, man, there's so many things that happen in it. Like it's nonstop. Just greatness all the way. The beginning was kind of weird, to be honest with you. I didn't love the opening. I
Really?
love what happened, that IG-11 rolls up on them and kills them, but I didn't, like, that just felt weird, a little out of Star Wars.
Oh, I
to
thought
me
it was
a
so
little bit.
cool. So cool and casual.
But the thing is, we've never spent time with two stormtroopers just sitting there.
Exactly. That's why I love it so much.
So, this is kind of what they would probably do. They've kind of been... I loved when they were trying to shoot the thing and they were missing it. That was awesome.
Well, and then you hear the spray paint when he shakes the gun.
Exactly. So there were some cool moments in there, but from the moment IG-11 takes off on the speeder bike and he's like, "I'm sorry you had to see that," and then the title card comes up, that whole episode all the way through was just like, oh my.
So we'll get to that episode later on. But what was your reaction when the saber popped up?
So
Dark saber.
I knew Moff Gideon wasn't dead because they didn't show him die.
They didn't show the blow up or everything. Yeah,
they saw the thing. They showed it roll over like that, right? We know they're never dead. So I was like, okay, he's not dead. They're gonna show him alive still. And then I start seeing something, and I thought he's like using a blowtorch or something, right? And then I see it like poke out, and I'm like, oh my goodness! And I knew right away what it was.
Yeah.
And especially because it's a show called The Mandalorian, it makes sense. It's not like it was the Cassian show and then the Dark Saber show.
There's a reason for it.
It makes sense, and that and a bunch of things we find out in this episode connects everything together with the I don't know what they call it, the Raid of Mandalore or the Purge.
The Purge, yeah.
So, and there's things in Rebels where Katie Sackhoff's character Bo-Katan says like the Empire is going to come for us, and they did.
That was the last time that we saw the saber.
Destroyed it, and so Moff Gideon basically was leading that purge or something, and he raided the castle or their kingdom and took the dark saber. And it's like, we don't know that happened, but we can put it together.
Well, so the one thing, and I mentioned this last week on Mandalorian, the history with the saber, the way that it's taken or passed down is one-on-one combat.
Oh yeah.
So Gideon versus now the theories of Season 2 showing a flashback of Gideon versus Bo-Katan in a combat, her giving it up, losing essentially, is possible.
So basically, but whoever loses that, they're the leader of Mandalore, though, right?
Yes.
So I think it's more likely that they took it. That they
Probably.
They went and they killed everyone. Some of them got away, and they just took
and there's been odes to this in this season about how they can't go back to their planet, like their planet was taken. Yeah. So the Empire is essentially
basically
there.
It's destroyed. Yeah. So if he was the leader of Mandalore now, I feel like he would be there, or maybe that's where he was.
Maybe
he came from there, and it's crazy because we still don't know why he says it means more to me than you'll ever possibly imagine.
Yep.
What does that mean? First of all,
I'm so glad that he's the big bad of Season 2. I'm so happy that that's the case.
I think
Giancarlo Esposito, he's so amazing because my brother is watching Breaking Bad for the first time, and I'm like, he's so great.
Brian thinks he's going to be the big bad for the whole series, or for at least a couple seasons.
I think.
Well, he's definitely what's his full name?
Din Djarin.
Din Djarin's like enemy, like mortal enemy.
That's what I
which is it's you can think of it as like an Arrow Deathstroke situation from the show, which is very cool. Not like a mentor thing, but
Let's say they do 8 seasons of The Mandalorian, whatever. Just guessing. I don't think they're going to because I think they'll move on and do other stuff.
I say 5,
but 5, whatever. I think he'll be dealt with in Season 2, but not killed, and then he'll come back or something.
Probably.
I'm fine if he's the whole big bad the whole Season 2, and then he kills him at the end. Something like that, but yeah, it was just an amazing episode. And the thing is with the reveal with the dark saber, those are the type of things we've been begging them to do in movies, and they don't, and they're doing them in this show.
Which I like that they're doing in this show,
and it's like
because it's weekly.
It feels like a continuation of
100%
Clone Wars and Rebels.
100%.
It really does.
It's gonna have massive connection in Season 2, and massive connection.
The time era that they're in, they can do anything.
Well, the last time we saw Sabine and Ahsoka, it was after the Battle of Endor, 5 years beforehand. Just saying.
No, after these last 2 episodes, I think for sure we're gonna probably Hera and Ahsoka. Honest, because we're better to do it.
Mm-hmm. Well, Filoni's involved.
You gotta have
Sabine and Hera
and Filoni. Or you said Hera and Ahsoka.
Oh, well maybe Hera too, but Sabine and Ahsoka for sure. And maybe, who knows where he's going to go? What if they're
Mandalorian?
Wow. What if their plant that species creatures, their planet is in wild space. Or something.
What if Ezra and Thrawn land in there?
What I'm saying. What if he goes to
Total wild theory
to
Just
deliver
totally
the
wild.
baby, and he's like, shoot, they're out in wild space, and he runs into them.
That'd be crazy.
So they can do a lot.
Brian, you also had it at number 1, man. What is? I mean, other than what Jacob just said, what is the reasoning?
It's perfect.
There's even more that I want to
It's
say.
it's literally the perfect. It's the only one that I've watched.
Yeah.
And it's just, I will go back and just look for clips of it online.
Yeah, I watched it back to back. Like I usually watch it, and then the next day I'll watch it again.
Keith
but I
did
watched
7
it the
and
same
8.
day.
Yeah, Keith watched 7 and 8 together, which is perfect.
Like
Yes,
that.
I wish.
Yeah.
I
I
would've waited for
know,
that.
right?
And that was the biggest gap we had
Uh-huh.
too for us who watched it on time.
Because it literally just picked up too.
Mhm.
So like, for him to just go straight 7, 8, I wish that would have been solid. That's almost like a movie, like that.
Yeah,
like
hour and a half long, whatever it is. Yeah.
So man, but 8, that is everything I wanted and more, and I could just see Taika Waititi, like him directing. One of them said he directed off of the couch.
Yeah.
He was literally laying on the couch.
don't doubt that.
Carl Weathers came out and said that he brought a couch out on set and he was directing from a couch.
Yeah.
Wow.
and in pajamas, by the way. They said pajamas.
Like,
Are you kidding me?
That's Taika, dude. That is just Taika.
That's
right?
hilarious.
like he is like the person everyone wants to be friends with, because he does everything awesome, and this just shows it. And God, I just love everything he's done so far, and just he killed this episode.
Yeah,
Killed it.
I agree. But the reason why I have 3 at number 1
It's
is
because the Mandalorians were awesome.
because of the Mandalorian. No, not just because of how awesome they were, but because of the background and the lore on everything that we learned from them.
Our history.
You know, not just the lore and the Mandalorians with the Beskar, and we learned more about why they were down there, and you know, only one can come up at a time at that point, and that type of stuff. But also just, you know, action that Deborah Chow displayed as a director was incredible. It's also just because of like she's directing Obi-Wan and just thinking back to that episode and being like,
oh, 100%.
that episode in 8 episodes with a lightsaber in someone's hand.
That and episode.
That episode 7,
So,
yes,
like,
you're correct.
Not even the
Both of those
lightsaber.
make me
Ewan
feel great.
McGregor.
Yeah, you want McGregor, exactly. But no, so I don't know. I just, and I'll mention some of the things later when we get to like favorite moments, stuff like that, specifically with this episode. But
If Tyga's is a 10, hers is like a 9 point.
no, hers is a 10 as well. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, hers
As
is a
far
10
as my list, because like, don't get me wrong, her episode, fantastic. We were raving about it up until this
It
one,
is, yeah.
the 8th one. So
Where do you guys have it on your list?
I have it at number 3.
You have it at 2?
yeah.
You have it
I
at 3?
3, yeah.
I guess I'll take that.
Yeah.
Whatever.
So,
It is what
wait,
it is.
what's your 2?
Episode 2. I've been saying that.
Yeah, well, the
From
child.
beginning, yeah.
What is it with episode 2?
Dude, I've been saying the reveal when the baby lifts the
Mudhorn, yeah.
It's felt special to me
Because
because
it falls back.
he does a lot of Force things since then, obviously.
Yeah.
But that was the first moment we knew. Because
Yeah, he kills people.
to
now.
me, that changed the show. When we didn't know the Force was going to be involved, we didn't know there were going to be any connection to. I'm not saying the Jedi is going to become a Jedi, but obviously the Jedi were talked a lot about in Episode 8. So that introduced this Force element to the show that we didn't think we were going to get right away. And who knows, it's going to lead to him either going to find Jedi or him going to find Yoda species. But it was just that special Star Wars moment. Like the first time you see the new Force thing, you know, shown
From
on
a different
screen.
perspective.
Exactly. So
And,
I always go back to that moment, and I just love how he's kind of his little beef with the
Jawas?
Jawas. I just think it's so
The
funny.
Jawas are
And
just rats.
How he just he starts blowing them up. and then they run around.
Disintegration.
Yeah,
Disintegration.
he disintegrates them, and the whole thing when
Baby
he's,
Yoda's
when he's
sitting
riding and he says weapons are part of my religion. Just the whole. I love that episode so much. It was neck and neck with episode 3, but when I had to decide, episode at number 2.
I like that.
Three,
That's
yeah,
cool.
three.
That's cool. All right, well, let's move on to some memorable moments of the season, favorites, best, iconic, however way you want to put it. This is our personal choice. This isn't an Apocaflix consensus list or whatever. But these are the things or thing that stands out the most to us. Brian, why don't you set us off, man? What's the one, before we get to maybe some honorable mention or something, what's the one thing that stands out to you about the show, or the scene? I should say one scene that stands out to you.
It's crazy for me to even think. But I said it last week. Stormtrooper. That is my favorite thing. I don't know why. I think it's because I've just grown up thinking the Stormtroopers are just so stupid. Like, they
in the
can't
8th episode.
Yeah, the part that you said was in there.
Mm-hmm.
The Stormtroopers are just these idiots, knuckleheads, can't hit anything, blah blah blah. And then to finally see it on screen, like I was like,
and they just gave up. They're like,
yeah, shakes
yeah,
the guy like spray can. And I said it like, obviously not a fan of punching little kids, but Baby Yoda reminds me of crazy old Yoda. And the way he like makes these like grunts and stuff, and so when they punched him, he's just like and just like.
For the record, on Mandalorian on Saturday, Brian said that he laughed at that part.
Oh, I still crack up at it. The third time he gets punched was aggressive because he like literally like once.
How can you laugh at Baby Yoda getting punched?
He got bopped on the head the 2 times.
The
by
thing
Jake.
for me is that like Baby Yoda he's fine.
Yeah.
He can defend himself. Even the Mandalorian says he's injured, but he's not helpless.
Yeah. He bit the
lot.
Stormtrooper's hand at the end.
He should have just, twisted their necks with the.
Okay, don't get too dark now.
Jeez.
He was choking Cara Dune now. What do you mean don't get too dark?
That's true. But he did kill the flame trooper. So he's got a death on his hands.
That.
But that was crazy.
It's Star Wars. Everyone has death on their hands.
It's war,
I guess.
Yeah.
Literally.
Yeah. But he's so impressionable right now.
We don't know that.
Yeah. Yes, he is. He is totally being.
We don't know. To us he is, but I'm saying, what is he thinking? We don't know.
He's probably thinking all of this craziness is like a normal way of life.
My point exactly.
Yeah.
Violence and death.
My
Exactly.
point exactly.
So, but back to that. It cracks me up every single time.
It's super funny, and especially like if they got away and they lived on, I would have been pissed. But IG-11 straight
shows
murders
how
them.
he literally wrecks
Nurse
them.
droid.
Yeah, Nurse droid.
This I could hear Taika's voice better in this.
Oh, I heard it great in
it
the
was
first
him.
episode
I did too. I heard it the first one, but this one.
Well, it's obviously
It was-
modified to sound like a droid.
Yeah, but I didn't get his voice as much in the first time we saw him. This time I heard his voice coming through, and it's such a good voice too. Hey, hello, he's got a New Zealand Australian accent. No one's saying stuff about a droid having an accent
because it's a droid.
Exactly. So I mean, the accent stuff needs whatever the galaxy, but that scene cracks me up. But if I'm picking a Mandalorian.
Well, no, it's a scene. It's a scene of the show.
I love that
scene of the
part.
show.
But I mean, you're probably heck is.
Jacob, what's your most iconic, best favorite moment of the season?
So there's a few. I already talked about Baby lifting the mud horn, but so like if I had to choose one, it would be that. But I'm gonna choose something else. Kind of talk about something different. The Mando putting on his jetpack at the end of episode 8 and
sick.
Going after Moff Gideon in the TIE
love
fighter.
that
Like
name.
what?
Moff Gideon.
Moff Gideon's a great name.
Yeah,
Such a
great
it
name.
really is. So the thing is, they set this up right. The Mandalorian was dying. IG-11 saved him. The Baptist stuff is slowly making him feel better, right?
How did you? Before I cut you off, you haven't said. How did you feel about the reveal of his face?
Oh, I loved it. I loved it.
I was curious.
Well, we already know what he looks like, but it was a good reveal. Like sometimes the reveals are funky, but I liked it a lot actually, and the way it happened a lot.
And it was Pedro Pascal.
So then he goes and I don't know her name, but like the one who builds all their armor and stuff.
Oh, the armorer.
Yeah, she
Her
doesn't
name's
have
the
one.
armorer.
Yeah.
Who nobody better ever mess with her. Like she.
That scene is
You know what?
incredible.
I was thinking. I was like, how the hell is she the only one who's still alive down there?
Now you know
they
why.
Showed me. I'm like, every time they send 6 stormtroopers to kill her, she kills them. And she was so brutal, like the most brutal violence.
She
we've
threw
ever
one of
seen.
them in the fire.
In the
this whole thing.
smelter.
She was breaking their masks.
Yeah,
like they
she
were
made them
just-
zombie troopers essentially.
Yeah, it was crazy. And then she gives him the jetpack and says, make sure like you have to train on it. Once you're healed, you can start training on it and get to use it. Like it won't work right until you get familiar with
It's
it.
like a living thing.
And then the TIE fighter's going around again. He just puts it on. He's like, I got him. Are you guys out of ideas? He's like, I'm not. And he puts it on, and he freaking goes after it. Another kind of felt like a Batman moment, which is not a bad thing. I think that's cool that they're making him like Batman in space. And I love when he pulls himself in back onto the ship. And it's a realistic struggle. Like, he's latching on and he's trying to put the thing on, and the first one falls, and Moff Gideon hears it, and he's like, oh, hell no. And then he gets another one on and falls off. That was so awesome, because I felt like certain episodes were holding back on the action because of the budget. I don't even care, because they gave us amazing action. And it was, you got to kind of maneuver your budget around, and you have to go out with a bang on the last episode, and they totally did.
And the TIE Fighter looked incredible.
It looked amazing.
Looked incredible.
So yeah,
especially
just
when it landed in
him putting on the jetpack, because he wasn't familiar with it, and he's just like, screw it, I'm just gonna do it. And he did it, and it was just so awesome.
I have a couple as well. We talked about the Darksaber already. That completely changes the show. Like you had mentioned about Baby Yoda using the Force in 2.
Oh yeah.
The Darksaber obviously changes the
absolutely.
whole aspect of the show.
That was great.
But for me, there's two. I mentioned already the whole end sequence to Chapter 3 with the Mandos, and how he saves Baby Yoda, the shootout with the bounty hunters, and then how the Mandos jump in and save him as well. That whole sequence is incredible.
Because of that, they all got wiped out.
It's incredible.
Even, do you think Paz was dead?
No, I don't think any of them did. I think they shed their armor and left.
I think so too. I think
they were killed. Dude.
Oh, really?
I think it was heavily implied, because she doesn't say that they weren't dead. She comes out and says this wasn't his fault. Empire, we revealed ourselves. They didn't. I don't know.
I think.
Why was she?
I think they went into
hiding.
hiding.
Still be there, because she
said she had to finish what was down there. She was melting down all the
Beskar.
Beskar and everything.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, which is what we're thinking anyway.
That's possible. Like, they all shed their armor, and then she came back, but that means they all took their masks off.
Yeah, I don't know what that means. But the other one that I want to mention that kind of, now that I think about it more and more, is in the same episode, and it could be very simple to others, but it's the outside of the saber. It's the biggest reaction I had in the series when he gets his Beskar armor and then he walks into the bar with the armor on.
That's a great moment.
I remember like gasping, like, "Whoa!"
Yeah,
he looked like awesome. But
we kind of forget about those things because it's been so long.
I love how they set up this mythology and everything with the Mandalorians, and how he gets the armor, and how they're like breaking it down, and how they're putting it on him, and how the armor is dealing with it, and he's sitting there watching, and we're getting these flashbacks at the same time. That whole sequence is like, I don't know, it just, for some reason, it just hits the mark with me as far as the show goes, because it's so centered around this character, and outside of 8, it's the most we've learned about the character so far, in my opinion, anyway. So when he gets his Beskar armor for the first time, the official armor, even though I miss his old stuff, seeing that for the first time and really like seeing how they get it is a really, really cool sequence.
I thought you might have picked when he was trying to get on the Santa collar.
Yeah, the Indiana Jones sequence. Yeah, that's really, really cool.
So kind of tying into the armor thing, which also ties into the Mudhorn scene, he gets his signet.
Yep.
And that was so amazing, because basically she's saying the Mandalorian culture is that if you find a foundling, your responsibility to take care of it. So he is his. She said it like, until you find him, bring him back to his people.
Clan of 2.
Father.
They're a clan of 2.
She said she puts on the Mudhorn. She's like, you're a clan of 2. And like thinking about that in that moment, it's like they took out the Mudhorn together.
Yep.
So he still gets the signet.
There is so much fan art of Baby Yoda with Mandalorian armor on.
And it's dope.
It's everywhere with a gun, the whole setup, everything.
Yeah.
What'd you think about Death Watch showing up?
That was cool.
The Vizsla clan.
Yeah. That
very,
was
very
awesome. Cool. And you know, my high up there honorable mention is IG-11 town with that speeder bike.
That's one of mine as well.
Dude, and it's like, because we talked about it. We said, how are they going to get out of this IG-11? We all said IG-11, right? But
we thought
he was going to roll up in the ship.
Yep.
I was like, there's no way she's going to roll up by himself like that and take all them out.
We're wrong.
And he totally did.
Yeah.
And it's like he even turned around and protected the baby and was like shooting from behind. He was straight up, he was going like 90 miles per hour at least, maybe even faster, and just taking each one out as soon as he drove by them. And then he allowed them to be able to come out and help, have them all take all them out together.
All right, well, let's go to our next section of the show where we have our favorite Easter eggs / callback of the season. These are things that are making references to past movies, maybe the animated shows, because there is a lot of Clone Wars and Rebel stuff in here. And so maybe just a small favorite thing that happened in the show. Jacob, why don't you start us off, man? What's one thing that kind of stood out to you?
I mean, we talked about it already, but still the Darksaber.
That's mine
That's
too.
mine.
Okay, let's just talk about the saber. Let's just talk about the saber.
It does a couple things. It just, solidifies its connection. It shows connection, Rebels and Clone Wars. First of all, it gives us canon junkies a little treat. Like, here you go. Like, finally, we're getting something. This is one of the biggest reveals they've done, where they're revealing a canon thing in a live action show or movie.
I'll bite the bullet if this is wrong, but this might be the second biggest reveal in Star Wars outside of Vader being Luke's father.
Interesting.
Over the Palpatine,
In what?
right? Palpatine.
Yeah,
So it's just crazy that we're even seeing the Darksaber, because I have wanted to see the Darksaber in live action.
It looks
long.
so good.
I had been saying that we've talked about it in past.
I talked to you about it, and you said we didn't really need
We've
it.
talked about it for years. We over the years on the Padawan podcast, we've talked about the Darksaber and how much we want to see it in live action. And I wish we could go find old episodes, but we finally got to see it. And the thing is, where does it go from here on out? Does he defeat Moff Gideon in battle and he gets the Darksaber? It opened up the floodgates for those types of things, and it opened up the floodgates to see Sabine again.
Mm-hmm.
To be honest, even though she's Mandalorian, so we could have anyways. But I think
she was once the holder of it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I think it opens those doors. And It's kind of cool.
I like it because that means that just because something was shown and animated doesn't mean it can't come to real life.
Yeah.
And I mean, yes, we could say Obi-Wan and Anakin and some of these characters, but there's a lot more important than just these characters that people want to see. Darksaber, yeah, it's dope. It's a black lightsaber. But there are other things, other important artifacts, places, blah, 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 that are real and can be visited at any time. And, I mean, people lost their mind over the Darksaber, and people that didn't know what it was wanted to know more about it, and it only brings more people into these things.
It might make people watch Rebels,
Yeah,
or the Clone Wars.
Totally. It's amazing. Yeah, I'm very excited and interested to see what they do with it. I don't know how much it'll be used per se because
are we gonna see it fight another lightsaber? Because if not, it's just gonna cut through
so.
everything else that it touches.
Yeah.
Unless they get one of those stormtrooper.
That's why I'm thinking in season 2 that we may not see it because I don't think Gideon and Mando are gonna meet up right away.
no.
They aren't.
I think season 2 is going to be heavily flashback. I'm okay with.
I think we'll
Their
see
story's
more
gonna
flashback
progress.
than we did in this one
season.
Because I think they might show the purge on Mandalore or parts of it.
Well, I mean, let's just move on to that. The next section, our final section, is expectations for season 2, where we kind of see it going. I definitely think the purge of Mandalore is happening.
Me too.
100% going to happen, and I think it should happen. I mean, we all want it to happen, and I think it's going to be told. I wouldn't even be surprised if it's an entire episode. If it's an entire episode, they've done that in television shows before. They can do an entire episode on the
now
purge
that
of Mandalore.
this show is a hit, they're gonna have a lot more budget to
That's
work
what I
with.
said.
Yeah. So I think they would. I don't want them to go too big though, because this show is about this character.
It's a small western.
It's
Keep
about
it that
this
way.
character, but through him you can tell much stories, and that story is relevant to him because he says Moff Gideon, raided Mandalore, and he got his records. He's the only one who would know that his real name is and everything.
Mm-hmm.
So set it all up for that. And the thing is, we do have to move forward too in the story. So I don't think they're going to be on screen together the whole time. Mando and Moff Gideon, but I feel like you kind of have to get into it pretty early.
I feel like there might be like that old western showdown
They
in
can't
the
do
city.
where he just sees in the season finale again.
No.
They can't do that.
No, not again. He's gonna have to be in the entire season. He'll probably be a season regular, more than likely, in my opinion. But I definitely think that the two stories are going to be him searching for Baby Yoda's home and probably the Purge of Mandalore. More than likely. Learning more about that and where the Mandalorians are, what happened to them, etc., etc.
And if, the thought occurred in my head, is Moff Gideon Force sensitive? Probably not, because he would have used it any time to defeat them, or maybe he doesn't want to reveal it.
Mm-hmm.
Who knows? But if he's good with that sword, who's going to be able to fight him?
Well, we've seen stormtroopers in the past.
Yeah.
Like Phasma is great with a staff.
True.
He could easily have training in it.
He's going to have to get some type of like taser weapon type thing.
He has one. His little, not little.
His turret, the big gun.
Are we talking about Mando?
Oh, are you talking about Gideon or Mando?
Mando.
Oh, Mando. Okay, never mind.
I don't think it's like a stick that could
that thing can
clash
do
with
anything.
a lightsaber.
Probably not.
How crazy would it be if he shoots at Moff Gideon and he stops it with the Force?
I wouldn't want him to be force
Neither do
sensitive.
I.
No, because he would be too powerful. You wouldn't be able to stop
I
him.
wouldn't want
He's
it.
not, because the thing is,
Everyone would have known if one of his.
They were
mobs
losing
was-
the battle, and he's just like standing around, and he would have done more.
Just leave Baby Yoda the only one that's force
Yeah,
sensitive.
no, I agree.
Do we think we'll see? I mean, well, first of all, is Baby Yoda gonna talk in the next season?
Maybe like one word type thing, like a
Dad.
baby would.
Dad.
I don't know. I think he's too young. Like I
Ew.
think he's only 50 in a species that lives 900 years.
Will there be a time jump?
Ooh.
I say maybe about.
It's a
Half
thing
a-
Star Wars is known for. Time jumps.
I'll say maybe half a year to that gap break. Not too far. Not directly right after.
Yeah, I think it'll be like real time, as far as how long it's been since last.
So like a
season.
year for us, a year
Yeah,
for them.
exactly.
I like
It's
that.
not even a year. 11 months.
Well, from when the season started, it's a year.
Well, yeah. They said fall. I mean,
Yeah.
fall.
It'll probably be around the November time. I'm
And
guessing.
they basically left it open that Moff Gideon's still going to be looking for baby, and
Mhm.
Mandalorian's off, possibly trying to find his.
It's going out to wild space.
Yeah.
All that unknown regions. It's gonna be very, very cool. Where do we think Cara Dune's gonna end up? Is she gonna be with Grief Karga the entire time, or what?
Her butt needs to get on that ship.
It's so funny at the end of movies or
They separate?
They're like, I'm just gonna stay
It's the
here.
second
and
time she's done it.
figure myself out. Well, at least she was already on that planet the first time. But like, oh, the Empire's never gonna come back here again. Like, yeah, right. Come on. But I do think, thing is, there's these certain characters, right, who are connected to the Mandalorian, and Grief Kargas and her are one of them. So keeping them together makes it more convenient for if they show up in season 2 that they're together.
I definitely think that they'll be back probably in the same capacity as they were this season.
I don't think we're gonna go back to that planet as much.
You don't think we're not going to see more than 2 episodes? 3?
It depends. The story seems like it's kind of expanded a little bit. If she's in 3 episodes, I'm cool with it. Give her 3 full episodes like she's been in. The 3 episodes she's been in, or was she in 2?
3.
3.
The 3
last
episodes
two,
she's been in, she's been in them the entire time. Like, I'm fine with that.
Honestly, I really like her character.
So do I.
And I want her to stick around. And I do think they'll go meet up with him.
Yeah, at some
like,
point.
What if they say the Empire did come back and they just slaughtered everyone and we got away?
It's very possible.
And
Very
just
possible.
riding with you.
Gideon
somehow.
could easily bring something out and just rain hell down on
why
Navarro.
Why wouldn't he go look for them and try to kill them?
Yeah.
You know?
Very possible.
But they think he's dead. So
That's true. Very, very
can
true.
see
He'll
that.
probably go straight to wherever his fleet
and
is,
try to
planet,
kill
whatever.
them, and then they'll get away and meet up with Mandalorian.
Yeah.
But I think he's either gonna bring Baby Yoda to more Jedi or to his species, which both would be sick because who knows who he's gonna bring him to as far as Jedi go. Luke, I don't know. But also, if we learn more about his species, which we didn't get a name for Baby Yoda.
Nope.
Or it must have been his name.
His name.
Which
Yeah,
we
his
were
name.
hearing about. And then, or if we just see that species and learn about it more and we see a couple, like...
I think this show's definitely going to dive into that. I think George
Yeah.
Lucas gave them the okay to kind of dive into it. So, yeah. Last thing, real quick. 2 questions. 1, do you want to see more episodes? And 2, I guess a 2-parter question on this one. Do you want the episodes to be longer / serialized?
serialized it.
No filler episodes like they were this season. Like four,
I want
5,
more
and 6.
focus on the story. I want the whole season to feel like episode 7 and 8 season. Basically, episodes
Like a cliffhanger every episode.
Like basically, if you just took episodes 1 through 3, 7 and 8, and watched it, that's a solid piece of television.
It's
right
five
there. Or
great
even
episodes.
like a movie right there. The middle of the season was a little filler, but I still loved every episode. Like I still enjoyed every episode. But I do want more focus on story, and I think we will get it.
I'm 100% with you on that one. Brian, thoughts?
I want 10 episodes with the same. I don't care
The
about
same episode runtime. Yeah,
I don't
I'm
care
fine
about
with the
it.
runtime.
I want the episode runtime of the last 2 episodes.
Yeah, like 40.
42 to
Closer
48
to
minutes,
40?
somewhere
Yeah.
around there.
Yeah.
Like
mean,
the
that would be-
45 range is perfect.
That would be like a normal TV show.
The ones that I
commercials.
think there was one that if you cut the credits out, it was like 27 minutes.
Mhm.
That was a little too short.
Yeah.
But I do like the short runtime. I don't want them to be an hour long.
Neither do I. Neither do I.
I don't need it to be an hour.
But I like the
with
8
15 minutes
episodes.
of film.
I like the 8 episodes, not 10.
45. And I do, even though I want them to focus more, I want them to still focus on the Mandalorian. I want them to expand a little bit on the scope of the show, a little bit, because we didn't know what we were getting before they started dropping trailers, right? Like we people were expecting a Game of Thrones type show. That's not what it is, but I do want them to expand more on character.
Totally. All right, guys. Well, any final thoughts on The Mandalorian Season 1?
I can't believe it's already over.
We got a year.
It's crazy.
Not even.
Got it. Well, you know what I mean, though.
I'll just
That
say,
makes a difference for me.
the thing is, I love this show all the way through, but episode 8 just, well, I would say 7 and 8. They kind of go hand in hand.
It's like one episode.
Yeah. Just, oh my goodness, it took it to another level for me. It took it from, this is awesome, I love Star Wars, to this is like something very special that I'm always going to. So, that's all I'm going to say.
100% with you.
Yeah.
That for me, it solidified that Favreau. They know what they're
We
doing.
talked about that before.
We have talked about it multiple
I'd be
times.
okay with that.
Yeah. So, and if not movies, at least this TV Disney Plus realm, because they're not.
Yeah, they need to be
Messed up at all.
consultants on all the TV
Yes.
shows going forward.
Yes.
Well, I think
Which
they I think they
are.
will, because they basically got Deborah Chow the job.
Yeah,
Even though her filmmaking got herself the job,
Absolutely.
they got
But
her the job.
What I don't, and Deborah Chow's done an amazing job on these episodes, but I don't want them to be like, here, Deborah Chow, do whatever you want.
Yeah.
I think there needs to be a vision.
No, I think
I
there's a
don't think she
vision.
would
I think there's a vision for
Want
sure.
to do that? Like, I feel like they're like, this is what we would like. Do it.
After watching this season of Mandalorian, Dave Filoni has his hands on this, and you know he does.
Oh,
and
you could tell.
he's so smart. He kind of creeped his way into it, and I think he's going to do that for every show.
100%.
Yeah.
He's probably going to be the one that gets in charge of Lucasfilm at some point.
I
I don't see him as a filmmaker. I see him as a guy who wiggles his way in everywhere.
Well,
I
he needs
agree.
to be a consultant on everything they do. I don't want him to be in charge 100%. I want him to be a consultant on everything.
Just a guy who has an answer for a question.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Cool. All right. Well, there it is, guys. This episode of the Padawan Podcast, all Mandalorian, diving into season 1 discussion here with full spoilers. Hopefully, you've seen the season, because it's up on the title, it's up everywhere, it's up on the overlay.
And we got a Green Ogre guy. Season 2.
Yeah. Well, we'll see what capacity that is. That might have just been a cool little tease there. But that is Jacob. That is Brian. I am Jake. This is the Padawan Podcast for Apocaflix Movies. You can find us on YouTube, social media, podcast platforms, Anchor, Apple, Spotify, etc. Make sure you guys leave some comments down below on what you think of the season, what you think of season 2 is going to go, favorite episodes, favorite Easter eggs, all that good stuff, everything we ran through. We'd love to hear from you guys. But until next time, and for the Mandalorian Club, we got to wait a whole year, but we will be back when season 2 comes around. So hopefully you guys will be joining us then. So again, thank you for joining us. We'll see you guys next time, and may the Force be with you.
Hey everyone, Jacob Bartley here. Thanks for watching. If you want to check out something similar from Apocaflix Movies, click this video up here. You want something a little bit different? Check out this video down here. If you haven't done so, please subscribe to Apocaflix Movies and let us know your thoughts in the comments section. We always love to hear from you. Thanks for watching.